Hello, my name is Jordan Adams, and this is part two of things to know when traveling to Japan. Uh, if you haven't seen it already, my part one video of things to know is right before this. Please check that out. And I am going to Japan in around the week, and these are things I think that are going to be very useful and important to know when going to Japan. So to start things off, language. If you're at all concerned about, I don't know how to speak Japanese, what do I do if I only know English when I go to Japan? That's completely fine. I do not know much Japanese at all myself. In Japan, there will be plenty of signs in English. Of course, your phone is going to work with Wi-Fi, so you can always use Google Translate or translation apps in general. Uh, and in Japan, English is a requirement in high school, so most people you meet are going to know a little bit of English, and the Japanese population is very, very friendly, very, very helpful. If you're lost at all, you can always go up to anyone, ask them, show them a card of where you want to go, show them a picture of where you want to go, and they'll almost always help you. Uh, with your phone, you can use Google Maps too. Also, in Japanese towns, there's also places called koban, which is a small police office, and they're generally there to help a lot of time foreigners out. Maybe you lost something, maybe you're lost, and you can always go inside and ask for help, and they'll always help you. Another thing, kind of random, but it's important to know, are tattoos. Japan is very traditional about their tattoos. They often associate tattoos with crime and gangs, like the Yakuza. And there are a lot of restrictions if you have tattoos. For example, if you go into a gym, you go into a bath or pools, often they require that tattoos are covered up completely, or a lot of times they might just deny access completely. Speaking of baths, public baths is a very common thing in Japan. You'll often see it in your hotels or just around parts of town. It's before you go into the hot tub itself, you need to make sure you shower, clean yourself, shampoo before entering the bath, and they're very serious about this. You want to be as clean as possible before entering the shared bath, and they're going to have little shower stations right in front of the baths that you can do that. You can wear a swimsuit and you can bring a hand towel, so maybe cover up your private parts. But most often, people in the shared bath are going to be naked, and they expect that of most people. Uh, they also discourage eating and drinking inside the hot tub. So maybe if you go in there with a beer or something, or just a soda, you might get kicked out. You might get banned. Um, so just keep that in mind. Eating and drinking. So about eating with chopsticks. It's a big rule to not put your chopsticks stuck up in the bowl. Maybe you're eating rice. Don't stick it up in the bowl. Lay it down sideways on top of the bowl. If you stick it up, they do this to offer food to the dead, which is seen as bad luck in Japan. And if you're maybe getting food from a shared plate, maybe you're sharing your shared things that you're eating with a group of friends. When you want to get it, if there's not already a designated chopstick for that, you would want to flip your chopstick backwards so that the thick end, where the one that hasn't been in your mouth, you use that to grab your food, and that's just not putting the end you put in your mouth into the shared plate. Uh, don't use your chopstick to stab food and just like pick it up and eat it. Uh, and you may be asking, how would I eat like foods like rice, like really small grains? How am I supposed to pick that up? In Japan, it's completely fine to bring your bowl up and scoop the food into your mouth. That's completely fine. And drinking. Drinking is usually seen as a way to bond with your friends, bond with your coworkers. So expect a lot of peer pressure if you go out drinking with Japanese. They When you go out drinking, you don't fill up your own glass. Usually the subordinates fill up the glasses of their superiors, and maybe your equal or your subordinates will fill up your glass, but you don't fill up your own glass. Everybody will fill up each other's glasses. And it's very rare to get to the bottom of your glass, as you're drinking, someone would just be pouring more for you to drink. So obviously there's going to be a lot to drink, and getting drunk is kind of seen as a way to get intimate, to bond with your coworkers. Uh, so a lot of times people get like really drunk, really wasted, and have to get carried home. So if you don't plan on drinking at all, I'd recommend just going with something like tea or soda. Just don't even get started on alcohol, because you know you're going to probably face less pressure getting a glass of tea, or a cup of tea, or a cup of soda, than if you just like say maybe I'm going to get one beer, and then they'll just pressure you into getting more and more and more until you're super drunk. In Japan, they don't do handshakes often. You don't do long eye contact. So if you're gonna look at someone, it's at most like 1 or 2 seconds. Don't hold eye contact. Uh, what you probably see instead is a lot of bowing. Bowing, as I'm sure you guys are aware of, the lower you go, the deeper you go, the more respect. So if you're a new worker at a company and you're greeting your boss might, you know, bow a little bit, but you'd have to go lower than him to show that he's your superior and that show more respect. Another rule in Japan is don't eat while walking or in the train. And what I mean by in the train is that if you're like on a 30-minute train ride from your home to your work, it's seen as rude to be eating in the train. You'd want to save it until you find a place to sit down. But of course, there's cases where maybe you're traveling from, part of Japan to part of Japan, long train ride, and you're sitting down in a bullet train for maybe a couple hours. There you can eat; it's totally fine. They serve you food. You can order food too. Uh, Another big thing about Japan is service charges. You'll see these with things like when you go into a restaurant, you might get maybe a small little snack like a little cup of nuts to eat. Uh, and then you order your main meal, maybe some sushi or something, and you get your bill back, and it's like twice as much as you expected it to be. And this is because a lot of places with limited seating, they give you something small, like the nuts in this case, to act as an entry fee. These places are very popular. There's not too much seating, so they give you this little thing, this little snack as an entrance fee. So you pay for that, and then you pay for your food that you eat. So this is not uncommon. In bigger places, this won't be a thing, but this is still very common in Japan. So don't be surprised by the extra bill. Japanese cards, Japanese business cards. Okay, so Japanese business cards are, they're very particular about it. So when you exchange business cards, you'd want to hold it with two hands, and they'll do the same. You do it and you exchange. And you also, this is a small rule, but the higher one, the lower you go, the more respect you show. So oftentimes you try to place your card lower than theirs. And when you get the card, obviously don't write on the card. Don't put it away right away. Treat it with respect, just like they will treat yours with. And one of my last points is drugs. Drugs are a very, very big issue in Japan. Um, don't get involved with drugs at all. If someone is involved with drugs, just don't get involved at all. Especially if you're a foreigner. There are very harsh punishments, and they can hold you. The police officer can hold you for many, many months without getting it's not like the U.S. You won't get like many of the rights you would get in the US. They can hold you for, I think, up to 3 months before they even establish a court date for you. So just point is, don't get involved with drugs at all. Japan is very harsh with drugs. The last thing is masks. So like I said in my last video, you don't need proof of vaccinations anymore. You don't need proof of anything related to COVID. But it is very popular and common to wear masks, especially in public places. It's not a law. It's just being courteous to Japanese culture. So if you're in a train and a lot of people would be wearing masks and they expect you to as well, and it's just more going along and being courteous to Japanese culture. So this is going to be my last video before I go to Japan in about a week. The next time you see from me, I'll probably be in Japan and talking about my experience there. So I hope this was useful. Thank you.